Welcome to the World History 1 lecture series. At the end of each slide there will be a 10-second delay. Use this time to pause the presentation and complete your notes. When you are done, push play and you will move forward. This lecture will begin in 5 seconds.
Welcome to World History 1 Lecture 9.6 on European nation-states, and there they are, the royal family of Great Britain, jolly good, God save the Queen, and Britannia rules the waves. Now, this picture of the royals was taken at the baptism of that little baby, but this picture also shows us a lot about royalty in Great Britain. What do I mean? That nice little lady in the blue dress sitting down is Queen Elizabeth. She is the ruling monarch of Great Britain. She is in charge of the country. Her son is standing behind her. He is Prince Charles, and he is next in line. When Elizabeth passes away, Charles will become the King of Great Britain. And when Charles passes away, Prince William, his son, is next in line after Charles, and he will become the King of Great Britain. And then there is Prince William's son, Prince George. The little baby is next in line after William, and that little baby will one day be the King of Great Britain. This family, the Windsors, will be in charge of Great Britain for a long time to come. But the question is, how did families like this become rulers in the first place? And what impact do these families have on Europe? That's what we're going to look at today. And with that said, let's go to the next slide. So why do countries like Great Britain have a monarchy while countries like the United States do not? Well, it all depends on whether or not you're living in a nation state. A nation state is a form of political organization under which a relatively homogeneous or of the same kind of people inhabits a sovereign or independent state. In other words, you live in an independent nation where almost everybody is of the same type of people. An example of a modern nation state is Japan, in which 98.5% of the population is ethnic Japanese. Here's a picture of Tokyo. Tokyo has a homogeneous population. Everybody in that picture is probably Japanese. The United States is not a nation state, as the population is made up of multiple ethnicities. Here's a picture of New York. New York has a heterogeneous population. There are many different types of people in that picture. So we're going to talk about places that are nation states, and that is why these places will be ruled by monarchies. Go to the next slide. We might be in a place with a homogeneous population where everybody's the same, but that doesn't mean that that place is united. What normally happens is that someone comes along and unites all these people into one nation, and that's exactly what happens in England. England is united by William the Conqueror in 1066 CE when he led the Norman conquest from France and defeated the Saxons at the Battle of Hastings. William the Conqueror is the first king of England, but he won't be the last. Henry II brings order to England in 1166 CE when he establishes the origins of common law and trial by jury. It's Henry II who gives us a uniform law in England and allows the English to be tried by their peers. Not all kings do such a great job. John I, who's around from 1199 to 1216 CE, was forced to sign the Magna Carta in 1215 CE to end a civil war. The Magna Carta limited the monarch's power and re-established English law. This is the first time in history where the King of England gives up some of his power in order to keep the country together. Finally, events will also shape the nation. England loses the 100 Years' War. That goes from 1337 to 1453 CE, and it was fought against France. And England is expelled from the mainland, thereby defining modern boundaries. That is the modern boundary of England today, and this war is why England has no territory on the European mainland. Go to the next slide. The same thing that happened in England happened about 100 years before across the English Channel in France. Hugh Capet establishes the Capetian dynasty in Paris from 987 to 996 CE, and it gradually expands to control most of France. This part of Europe was controlled by the Romans, and then the Franks, and then the Holy Roman Empire. But it's the Capetian dynasty that sets down the foundation for modern day France. And the 100 Years' War against England defines France as a nation and sets modern boundaries. France looks like it does today because of this war. Now, nation states have their heroes and heroines. Joan of Arc, who's around from 1412 to 1431 CE, unifies France during the 100 Years' War, but she is eventually captured by the English, condemned as a heretic or a non-believer in Christianity, and burned at the stake. She becomes a martyr or a symbol for France as a country. It's not just monarchs who can influence a nation state's history. Go to the next slide. Both England and France will have a tremendous impact on our modern history, but it's Spain that opens the door for exploration to the New World. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella unify Spain and rule the nation state from 1474 to 1516 CE. But there's a lot of violence that's going to go into unifying this country. Muslim Moors are expelled from Spain during the Reconquista, and non-Christians were persecuted during the Inquisition. These are two holy wars. Here's how it works: convert to Christianity, leave, or die. And it's these holy wars that shape modern day Spain. Once the nation state unifies, we begin exploration. Spain begins an era of exploration in 1492 CE. What do I mean? Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and the rest is world history too. Go to the next slide. Western Europe is not the only place we find nation states. In fact, one of the largest nation states on the planet still exists today, and that's Russia. Mongol armies invade Russia and rule from 1237 to 1547 CE. Mongols have a tremendous impact on Russian history, but they do not unite the country. Someone else is going to come along, and that someone is Ivan the Great, or Ivan the Terrible. He expels the Mongols and assumes absolute power as the Tsar, which is the Russian name for emperor. Ivan the Great will establish a new Rome in Russia. How does he do this? Ivan centralizes his power in Moscow, expands the nation to the borders we still see here today, and uses the Orthodox Church to further consolidate power. Modern Russia traces its history back to this Tsar, Ivan the Great. That's it for this lecture, and I look forward to seeing you in class.